Please be advised that Little Miss Recap contains adult language. Hey everyone, just a quick trigger warning before this episode. We do talk about eating disorders, disordered eating, and there is a lot of talk about diet culture. So if any of that stuff affects you, you might want to skip this one. Thanks and enjoy the episode. Hi everyone, welcome to Little Miss Recap, the podcast where we rail against diet culture.
Yeah,
Charlotte, we're talking to you. Fuck you. Fuck that. Anyway, I'm Amye Archer. I'm here with the lovely Leslie DJ. We are here to bring you, and just like that, season 2, episode 8, 100 years ago. We are late because I was gone away, but we are ready to weigh in on this very controversial episode.
Yeah, I saw the internet like spark up. There were so many debates and people pulling quotes from past, from like the original series and different things and saying like, how can she say this? It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
We'll get there. And then I listened to the Writer's Room podcast. I got a lot to say about Michael Patrick King.
Why do you hate him so much?
He has here's what an ego he has. Okay, now you're a writer, I'm a writer. We've been in circles where we've come up with an idea or something like that. He always has to claim that the ideas are his. So like they're in this conversation and one of the women goes, when you came up with the idea to have Aiden and Carrie get back together, and he goes, me, Michael.
Yeah.
Like, okay, dude, fucking calm down.
Yeah, because he's a man and he needs to take credit for everything. Also, I am fresh off my second viewing of the Barbie movie and men suck. Thank you.
I didn't see it yet.
It's so good. I saw it for the second time. I
can't wait to see it. I'm going to get there. I'm just back from Canada. It was my first time in Canada and I loved it.
Oh, I want to go there so bad. Did you get to see Trudeau? Is he still prime minister?
Did I get to see Trudeau? I just broke him and his wife up while I was there. They literally announced they were getting a divorce on Friday and I was there.
Seriously? Did that happen?
Yes.
Oh my God. So he's up for grabs? Should I move?
He's up for grabs. Yeah, you might want to. Let me tell you something. As somebody who has spent some time in New York City, that I'm familiar enough with it, I have not spent time in Chicago, and that's where they say Toronto is more like Chicago in size and stuff like that. But imagine a New York City, Leslie, where there's no horns honking. There's not police on every single corner. Mm-hmm. Nobody's yelling at each other.
What about the rats?
It was so weird. No rats.
Oh my God.
There were like, once you got out of Center City, there were some areas that were a little less sparkling.
Yeah.
But still no hostile. Like everybody's just so fucking nice to each other.
Yeah, that's like the biggest I don't know if that's like their chip on their shoulder. It's like everybody thinks we're so nice. It's like fucking take that, because I'd rather people think that we're nice than rude. Like in New York. Let me tell you,
going to a concert when you don't have to go through a metal detector and you're not on edge every time somebody moves weird or says something, like it was really relaxing.
Wow. That's really amazing. Nice. So there's an interesting factoid that I have because I attended the Love It or Leave It taping like 2 weeks ago, and they had the rat czar. Literally, there's like a person who was appointed for the city of New York to kill off all our rats. And what she said was interesting. She said that in Canada, there are less rats because they literally built like a little forest, like a little wall, like kind of like a border wall against rats to get rid of them. Yeah, I was like, they build a wall to get rid of rats. I'm like, I could get behind that.
Okay, so New Yorkers, you need to rise up and demand a building of the wall.
Exactly. That's what she's trying to do. And it's a great episode. So if you check that out, Love It or Leave It, it's the New York City episode. It's really insightful. It's really funny. Isaac Mizrahi is there. Jenny Garofalo.
You were right, by the way. I did not realize him and Ronan broke up, and they did.
Yeah.
They were together for 10 years.
That's insane. When I told you that I was seeing so many thirst traps from Ronan, he's like shirtless and going on all these parties, without a shirt, riding a horse. I was like, is this a Harlequin romance novel? Like, what is happening? He is
little Frank Sinatra. So,
he's
you do have to take
he
into
is
account
so
his
hot.
lineage.
he is just so hot.
Do
It's
you
not
think that
fair.
do you think his book, like, the fame from his book ruined their relationship, I wonder?
I think that he really wanted to get married. So here's the thing, Ronan, I believe, or at least their point of contention was that he lived in New York and Lovett was in LA for, the whole crooked media thing. So
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, I guess maybe it just didn't work out. I don't
Mm.
know.
Well, we can debate this off the air. I'm sure people don't wanna hear it. Anyway, guys, so we're back, we're here, we're ready to tackle. Let's jump in, shall we?
Yes, please. I have a
So I
lot of
did the
thoughts.
notes here. We're gonna go character by character and then talk about each character. So some of the storylines are gonna cross over,
Mhm.
and that's fine. We're gonna start with something that I felt was a real nothing burger, and that was Anthony's storyline.
But I
So
love Mary Cantone though.
I
He's so
love him
funny.
too. God love him. He has been a saving grace in this
Yes.
entire season. So he's fielding a million calls for Giuseppe. Everyone wants Giuseppe to deliver the goods, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
He walks in and he shows Anthony how to knead bread, and he does it in a ghost fashion, right?
Yeah, with like the pot, with the pot. Yeah, I'm high. No, with the pottery. The pot
The
wheel.
yes.
Ugh.
So in the movie Ghost, there's that famous scene where Patrick Swayze is behind Demi Moore and he's guiding her hands through the pottery. I mean, it was part of our sexual awakening as Gen Xers. Nobody saw that and didn't somehow say, I need to get me a potter's wheel immediately.
Yeah, definitely. We had that option in college. It was like a pottery class or whatever, and I wanted to do it so bad, but I just couldn't fit it in my schedule with my theater and my
Mhm.
photography. So I was just like,
And
God
then you
damn
would
it!
need to find a ghost to do it with. So,
Exactly. There weren't any hot ghosts at the time.
no. I'll never forget, just very quickly. Shout out to Jake and Matt, our reality gays who we love so much.
I'm wearing
Oh,
their
you
shirt.
got the shirt on. There you go. I'll never forget, they had a whole episode where they had a very deep discussion of which ghosts they would hook up with, and it was fantastic.
Oh, gotta love them.
Anyway, so Giuseppe tells Anthony that he's gay, and Anthony tries to fire him immediately. He freaks out. The next day, Giuseppe comes back. Anthony's like, I said I would fire you and give you a month's pay. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? They make out, and then Giuseppe quits. So, what are your thoughts on this relationship?
Well, the fact that he would be gay, I was like, I wasn't that shocked because
Hmm.
I'm like, it has to be like a love interest for Anthony because he's so freaking hot. Like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
I know
I
the
don't
hot
know
guys in
the.
New York are unattainable because you're gay. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know the like. Do we need this? I guess we do. I guess we need like a nice storyline to see Anthony moving on.
Right, because as we know, Stanford is up in Asia doing God knows what. May he
Mm-hmm.
rest in peace, Willie Garson.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I guess we're gonna have to go to Charlotte next. Oh God.
When I told you that her storyline made me sad, it legitimately like knocked the wind out of me, and
This is
it was not good.
I I have so many thoughts on this. For those of you who don't know, I wrote a book called Fat Girl Skinny, all about not being able to accept your body and food addiction. And, Leslie's written extensively about this kind of stuff as well.
Yeah,
We are not into diet culture,
not at
trying to rail
all.
against that shit.
I am still, I've even flirted with the idea of going back into treatment because my anorexia is like full on back. Like, there's no
Yeah,
denying it. I've lost so much weight, and it's not on purpose. It's just my brain. It's easy to kind of fall back into that. So when I said that scene made me sad, it really like knocked the wind out of me. And after that, I had to stop that episode for a little bit because I just
it's
wanted to
triggering.
cry. I wanted to
Hmm.
cry because I'm like, I've had those moments
Girl,
and
I
it
feel the
sucks.
same thing. Like, I work so hard to accept and love my body, and it's daily a fight. It is daily a fight. And when you see someone buy into it, you just want to hug them and like pull them out of it, if that makes sense.
And
Like,
Kristen Davis looks amazing. She
I
is
know, I know,
gorgeous.
I
I'm
know.
so glad she's lighting up on the fillers on the face because now her face
Mhm.
moves and she's
Mhm.
so beautiful. She doesn't need any of that shit. So I get it because I guess women at that age are feeling like, I've had kids and maybe my body's not the
Well,
same,
and she
but
says something about menopause. So let's talk about the
yeah.
story and then we'll get into it. So she gathers the family and Richard Burton notice to announce that she's going back to work full time. And the kids are like, "Yay, you'll never be around." I totally feel this.
Yeah.
And she's feeling, you could see it in her face. Like she's feeling like this should be a more impactful statement to you guys than it is. And that's upsetting. And she says, "Harry, you'll have to pick up the slack." And he's like, "Of course I will." And then later, she and LTW go shopping for her outfit for work, and Charlotte stuffs herself into a dress that doesn't fit. And I literally wrote, "Oh no, please do not go here. No, 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 no. Oh, we're here."
Yeah,
So
just take a
later,
size
Charlotte,
up.
and I forget what size she's even trying to get into. It's like a 6 or an 8 or something. So later, Charlotte's trying on the dress at home and she says the belt is riding up. She eventually finds a little photo of herself that's like her thin inspiration. This all needs to stop.
Mhm.
Harry says, "Lose the belt." And she says, "No, I need to lose the belly. I've been doing a bone broth cleanse for like a week. You haven't noticed?" Harry thinks she looks great. Charlotte calls Anthony at some point, complains she can't lose weight. And then we have Charlotte going to work and she has a girdle on and she can't breathe. She gets to work. This made me so angry, as you can imagine. "Oh, everything's fine because there's a fat girl. So there's somebody here that's fatter than me, so I'm fine now." I
Did
don't know if they intended it that way, but as a fat girl myself, I am enraged and I'm angry over it.
I got so mad because of that
Mm-hmm.
actress's styling because I felt like you could wear whatever you want, but the clothes were not flattering on her and her hair was a mess. It's like she can't be well put together.
And she's a beautiful woman.
She's a beautiful woman. She didn't need to look all raggle muffin. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It's like
Yeah.
she could have worn that outfit and looked a little more flattering. Her hair could have been done up. But it
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
is she like the intern or something? Like the fat intern that they just hired to make people feel better about themselves? Because everybody else is like a model in there.
Charlotte does not feel better until she sees that. And I don't know what Michael Patrick fucking King. Listen, Michael Patrick King, come closer.
Mhm.
Keep women's bodies out of your fucking typewriter or whatever you're writing
No,
this
I
on,
believe that
okay?
he's writing on a typewriter.
Like, do not attempt this. Do not. Just don't. Just don't. I'm so angry over it, Leslie. I was enraged when I saw it.
When I first saw that actress come down the stairs, I was like, oh, is she supposed to be like the intern that's going to be like, oh, this is okay? And it's like, no, she's actually someone of power. And I'm like, and why does she look like that? If everybody else is dressed like models, why isn't she wearing a more flattering outfit? Like, yeah, you can still have a crop top, but
Yeah.
look a little more professional because she did not look like she belonged in that scene compared to the other women.
I just felt like, take a fucking note, writers, okay? Fat people don't exist to make thin people feel better about themselves. And that's exactly the message you're sending.
Yeah.
If it's a message that you're not intending, you're sending it anyway. So
Mhm.
we need to see a little more, I don't know, maybe internal dialogue. Like maybe you can somehow telegraph to us that, because I know this is what they're going to say. I didn't listen to the whole podcast, but I know they're going to say that Charlotte realizes she's being ridiculous and here's somebody of a bigger size who embraces their body,
Yeah.
and that's so freeing for Charlotte. Okay, that did not translate on screen.
No, I did not.
We didn't see that. So we need better writing. I mean, we just need better writing, period. But we need better writing around this whole thing. Okay, I'm done. I'm off of it.
It was really upsetting. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm. And this whole storyline with this, you need to fit into this fucking dress and you need to go on a bone broth diet. All this shit is the shit we grew up with. It is plausible that Charlotte would have that in her psyche from
Mm-hmm.
the world she grew up in and the age that she is. But like, where are her friends to be like, stop it? Stop it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or her daughters. Like, my daughters would be all over me if I was doing a bone broth diet.
They'd be
They'd
like,
be
what is
like,
wrong with
no.
you?
Mm-mm, mm-mm. All right, you ready to go over to Miss Miranda Hobbs?
She's finally back, you guys.
She's back. So Miranda's at her internship, and we meet these two girls, and they're eating a cookie. and they offer her half of the cookie, literally out of their mouths.
I would never take that
Leslie?
cookie.
The internship is at the Human Rights Watch, and remember, this was the big I'm guessing this was the big internship, right? That she
Yes, the
wanted and
one
gave
that
up for Jay?
she gave up for Che and had to grovel to get back.
Yeah. So these I don't understand much of this legal speak here, but there's something about citations. I don't know what's happening. Maybe you know, Leslie, because you're in that world.
Well, just in research in general, it's like you got to make sure that all the, references are correct and all these things because they are it's like, why are they doing this manually? There are programs that you can run this shit by. Do they not know this?
Well, MPK probably doesn't know. So then it doesn't exist if he doesn't know it. All right. So she is asked to take notes at some prestigious meeting by her boss. And these interns who've been there forever, or a couple of years, I mean, not forever, a couple months, maybe even. And they're like in their early 20s. They're like, what the fuck? Oh, she gets to go take notes, blah, blah, blah. So later, the interns are mean to her because she got to go on the US mission and it's only her day one. And they're clearly, this was a good scene where they're texting about her.
Yeah, I've seen people do that.
I've seen people do it. I've done it. I'm guilty of it. It's happened. I mean, I hope I'm a little more subtle when I'm doing it. And it's not to be a mean girl, but I've done
Yeah.
it like in situations where somebody's doing something scary or crazy over here and you're texting your friend like, "Oh my god, what is happening right now?"
Yeah, I don't have subtlety because I'm Dominican, so I just turn to my friend and speak in Spanish about that. Be like, what the fuck? ¿Qué es lo
There
que
you
está haciendo
go.
esta loca? Oh my god.
There you go. There you go. So Miranda asks if they're texting about her. And they're like, "No, of course not." Later she's working and she tells one of the younger girls that she's made a mistake on the citation. And the girl goes, "Oh, I guess you're just perfect, Miranda." Miranda says, "Actually, I'm a sexually confused alcoholic in the middle of a divorce." And they're both like, okay. Then Miranda's boss comes out and announces she's going on maternity leave and she's chosen Miranda to take her place. Miranda's not comfortable with it, but the boss is like, "You've been a lawyer and you graduated like top of your class at Harvard, dude. You got this. You can
Yeah.
run the citation department at Human Rights Wealth, whatever it is. Health, wealth, I don't know.
No clue.
Human Rights Watch. I knew it was a W.
Watch 101. Yes.
Yes. Like, so Miranda's okay. So what did you think about this scene? Are we seeing Miranda back?
I feel like Miranda's finally owning her mistakes and what she did. And I like the idea that, last episode she did kind of try to put herself out there with women to see maybe
Yes.
this is what I should be doing. I should have been doing it all along. This is a new me. I'm exploring this side of myself. So I like that they didn't just drop it and have her chase some dong. So that's good.
That's good.
So she is sexually confused at this point, and it's fair for her to say that, oh yeah, she's an alcoholic. Let's call that back.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. That convenient alcoholism that reared its head in season 1. Okay, so that's enough with Miranda right now. So later we see Seema, and we don't have a ton of her. We see her at her office, and a coworker asks her to handle some annoying director, and I guess this guy's supposed to be hot.
Yeah, what is it with these guys that are supposed to be hot that I'm not finding hot? Is it because they're not my type, my demographic? Like, I don't understand.
I
There's
don't
a
understand.
disconnect.
This bicycle guy wasn't hot either.
No.
I don't know. And Carrie could pull a little better, and so could Seema could pull Giuseppe if she wanted to. Jesus Christ.
Seema is Samantha. Because first of all, she's now has this. I was like, when did she get this office? We've never seen this. Who are these people? What is happening?
Yeah. So we'll talk about Carrie in a minute, but it's important to talk about this scene. Later, Carrie sees Seema at the salon, and Seema avoids her. Now, we saw earlier when Carrie was doing the wee with her and Aiden that Seema was starting to get a little uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
So something was going on. Now, they're at the salon. Carrie is right next to her. And Seema hears her voice, gets up, and tries to sneak out. Carrie sees her, and she's like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?" And Seema goes, we have to talk, and it's a conversation we have to have outside. I will tell you what the writer should have had this conversation be. How great would it have been if Seema was like, I hooked up with Aiden?
That's what I thought it was gonna be. Like this
That's
whole
what
Aiden
I thought
vibe.
too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Or I slept with Big. Like something great, you know? So, what is her big reveal? Oh, I can't do the Hamptons house anymore because I don't want to be part of a we. Like, I don't want to be a third wheel. I want it to be Hot Girl Summer or whatever.
Yeah.
And Aiden's just going to throw a wrench in it. And Carrie's like, oh, come on, you'll love him. And Seema goes, but I won't love how I feel about myself around him.
That's
Really,
fair.
dude?
I mean,
Oh,
it's
I
fair.
thought that was a bit much.
Well, if I mean, at her age, I feel like she should. I don't know. I feel like she's so much more mature than that. But I could see that, like, if you're like in your 20s or in your 30s, and you and your girlfriends are planning this whole thing, and then your one friend is all like we with her boyfriend, and you're like, dude, you're gonna ruin our hot girl summer, you know. But I see it in that aspect. But she's an adult.
No, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. But to say I don't love how I feel about myself around him was real weird.
She's never met him to be like, I don't like the
Right.
way I feel around him.
And she's like, talk about making this all about you. Just be like, I don't want to, like, the whole point of me asking you is that you were single and I was single.
Yeah.
And now that's changed, so the plans have changed. Like, done. So Seema says, you've had these two great loves, and I've had none. And I don't want to do this summer, so I canceled it. And Seema says, I need space. And Carrie says, no, please, no, don't pull away from me. And I just wrote, this is wild. I don't know what's happening here.
This is Samantha, because she is pretty much putting everything that she felt towards Samantha, like she didn't fight hard enough to keep their friendship. And so she didn't want to give Seema her space. But then I guess in a moment of clarity, it was like, okay, I'll let her go because, I can't force this.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's everybody aside from Carrie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get into it, shall we?
Well, Che kind of...
I have Che built in there.
Okay, yeah.
Che, ironically, one of the least annoying characters this episode.
Che was actually enjoyable. I was like,
wait,
oh my
say
God.
that again, Leslie? Say that again?
Che was enjoyable in this episode.
Wow. Okay.
When Che was walking around trying on Carrie's shit, I loved it. That's me. Okay. That's what I would do. If I was in Carrie Bradshaw's apartment, I'd be doing all that shit.
What if you were in Amy Archer's apartment? Would you be walking around like trying on my $10 face cream from Target and stuff?
No, but I'd be playing with your dogs.
When I used to go to my sister's, like, I love going to my sister's because she has the best products. And it's like, oh, I'm totally like taking a shower here and using her shampoo and her cream and, everything else. All right. So Carrie and Aiden haven't been out of bed in days. Now, I'm an Aiden fan. I love John Corbett. I don't need to see this. I don't need to see him in his tight boxer briefs. I just don't. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
So today he's leaving, and Aiden tells her about his farm and how he has chickens and how this chicken would go into his son Wyatt's room and go up on the bed and lay an egg there. And it's an 1860 classic red brick farmhouse in Norfolk. Okay. He invites Carrie to go with him and meet his boys, and she said she would like that. Okay. At lunch, she tells the girls she's going to go back to Virginia after Aiden comes and visits again, which is in 2 weeks. We learn that he has 3 boys, 14, 17, 20. Carrie says she's still traumatized from that trip upstate to his cottage, which I'm going to have you fill us in on. Okay?
Yes.
Just hold that thought. And she compares the house to one in the movie Howard's End and says even the commutes are similar. And if Emma Thompson can commute for Anthony Hopkins, I can commute for Aiden. So tell us the story about Aiden's cabin in the woods.
Okay,
just
so
the quick story of it.
So this is season 4. I think this episode, because it was like a few episode arc, but this one was Sex in the Country. And this is where she decides to finally go to Aiden's place, which is like a shithole for her. It was a horrible experience. There was a squirrel, and that's what she famously says, like, squirrels are just rats with a cuter outfit. That's where that comes from, which
Okay.
I've used ever since,
I
because the
agree with that.
squirrel was coming into the window, and he's like, that's my squirrel. She's like, that's your squirrel? Like, no.
Okay.
So the whole time she was there, she kept finding issues with the house. It was like he was telling her, like, help me move this around, and then she falls into like a puddle of mud. Like, it's this whole thing, and he basically tells her, just admit it, you hate the house. And then she finally says, I hate the house.
So it's very Green Acres. Would you say it's very Green Acres?
Yes. And there's also like another part where Samantha kind of goes up there and she hooks up with like a young McDonald. I think that's what they refer to as, because he's just like a hot guy who, all of a sudden Samantha was like, hey, this is a hot guy, no strings attached in the country. And then he's like, so what are we doing next weekend? And she's like, oh, hell no, I can't do this we thing. So similar to Seema with the we thing. Okay. But yeah, so essentially she hated every aspect of that. She hated everything that he would do for her, like, with the apartment, when they lived there and everything. So when he mentioned having a farm, I was like, that makes sense. That tracks for Aiden. But Carrie is not a farm person. So it was interesting. At least
she wasn't.
She wasn't. And now she says, okay, I'm ready to do this.
Okay, I got you. Thank you for that, my Sex and the City expert. Okay.
Oh yeah, and I think in this episode where she goes to like a drive-through and she asks for like cheeseburgers or like a Cosmopolitan or something. That's like another famous little thing.
I'm sure I've seen it. I've seen the entire series. It's just been so long.
It just instantly popped into my head while I was watching, and I was like, wait a minute. They need to refer to the fact that she hated his last place.
Yes. So Charlotte's over the moon happy for Carrie, of course, because Charlotte loves love. And Miranda has her resting bitch face on, as always. And Carrie tells them Aiden wants to take all the girls for dinner, and Seema seems weirdly annoyed, which we find out why later. She did not bang Aiden, as I thought. Now we have the scene everybody's talking about in Backdoor Friends. Guys, if you are not in our Facebook group, Backdoor Friends, you may not realize what a stir this caused. But people are outraged, and I have some thoughts, and as always, I'm going to land somewhere in the middle, like Libras always do. So Miranda and Carrie are walking down the street. Miranda's telling her she got the internship back. She's thrilled. She begged for it. And, she's happy that she'll be helping to do some good in the world. And now Miranda brings up Aiden, of course, because she has to be the wet blanket over everything. And she's like, I feel like you're moving so fast. Should you take a beat here? I mean, you didn't even know that you were Googling houses in Vancouver or in England?
Yeah, I think it was England.
Yeah. And Caden. Whoa, new couple name.
New couple name, Caden. There you go.
So Carrie says, Aiden and I are very much in the present, and I've been having orgasms like nobody's fucking business, like even bigger orgasms than with Big and with Aiden himself. So she says maybe because of Big, she never allowed herself to truly feel the connection she had with Aiden. And she goes, I've been asking myself, was Big a big mistake? And I just wrote OMG in all capital letters. Miranda is speechless. Okay. So, Leslie, I'm going to let you speak first because you listen to the writer's room and you have a lot of thoughts on this. Is this, let me just posit it to you this way. Is this just, you've been divorced, I've been divorced. We've been in that place, right?
Yeah.
Carrie obviously was widowed, so it is different, but it's grief all the same. I don't know about you, but when I got divorced, I looked up an ex-boyfriend and I went back to that well. And it doesn't take you long to realize why you didn't pick that person. However, could she be in that spot?
Interesting.
Could she be like, this is my comfort. I needed this. I predict that she and Aiden are going to break up. This is not endgame for them. But what are your thoughts?
Okay, so my initial thought was I actually appropriated a gay gasp because I was like, it was like a really big, loud, dramatic, and fabulous gasp. I did that, and then I paused because we actually got screeners, you guys. That was freaking awesome.
I was excited. I was
so excited. So I saw this like way before all of you. Anyways, I gasped and I was like, what is happening? It's
Mhm.
normal to have kind of that idea, but I think that
Sure.
what people are really harping on, it's like you're telling me that the last 30 years were a mistake. You kept going back to this guy that treated you like shit. Big was a fuckboy. You don't marry a fuckboy. But she
Mhm.
did. And
Mhm.
then when you marry a fuckboy, you know what happens? God gets mad and he kills him on a Peloton. So that's what
Oh.
happens.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what
All
happens.
right,
So
good.
don't marry a fuckboy.
Okay.
um, no. But seriously, it's normal to think that, but the fact that she said it was kind of jarring because she always chose Big over anyone, over her friends, over her happiness, over
Mhm.
everything. And
Mhm.
then in the writer's room, they're all like, we had this moment where when they said it out loud at the round table, the, whatever the reading thing that they do,
Mhm. Mhm.
everyone gasped and we were like, are we gonna go there? Is this like fair to say? So of course they justify it, saying it that now it's more about her and Aiden now rather than in the past. And I don't know.
See, I think I, believe it or not, think this is very believable.
It is believable, yeah.
Like I said, I think this is still part of her grief
Probably
to
because she's
go.
going back to someone that she
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
comfortable with.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that here's what I if the writers have any sense, I think this is one way they could take it, in that this time Aiden breaks up with her. Or it's mutual. Like, they get the closure that they always wanted. Maybe
Yeah.
Aiden's like, "You know what? I thought that this was real, but, like, who are we kidding? Like, you're just still grieving for John, or you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to distract yourself from the grief, and I'm not
Yeah.
the answer to that. And so this is not the right time for us." And they break up. That's how it has to end. Like, I love Aiden, but I've always said that Big was better for Carrie because that's who Carrie is. Aiden's better for Amy.
And
You
for
know what I mean?
Leslie.
Like, it's who I would have chosen. It's who
Right.
I found attractive. But Big was a better match for Carrie. And so, but to have that dark thought, like, there is not a parent on this planet who has not said to one of their girlfriends in their darkest moment, "Sometimes I wonder if I should have had kids." There's not one parent who does
Good.
not say that, after weeks and weeks and weeks of a colicky baby or a teenager driving you crazy. Like, it's okay to say that,
Yeah.
and best friend. It's okay.
We saw that with Charlotte in the second movie when she was overwhelmed by the
Yes.
kids. And
Yes.
Miranda
Yes.
was kind of like, you need to, it's okay to feel this way, which is, it's
Yes.
normal. But I think that the writers are kind of pushing this along to being like her happily
Well,
ever after.
that's the thing, and then Carrie says later to Aiden when Che annoyingly says, "Why didn't you 2 work out?" Which, Che, learn some never mind. They are annoying this episode. Um,
I was
Carrie
like,
says
no.
Carrie says, "I made a mistake," to him, and I don't think she should have said that, because also, as much as, like, I just confessed that parents say those really dark things sometimes, there's also no earth where a parent would not say. And I have one of my very good friends has children with someone who is a disaster. They would tell you, "I would never not have that relationship because that is what brought me to my children."
Right.
And Aiden, I'm sure, would not wish away his 3 children.
That's the thing. And I feel like, okay, if you want to justify this and say, like, well, she needed to be with Big because at the time that's who she was meant to be with.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
Aiden needed to move on from Carrie because he wanted the wife and kids, something that Carrie could not
Aiden
provide
wanted
him with.
he wanted the granola
Yeah.
mom,
And she was
and
not into that.
she was not into that. And, this is something like Timmy and I did this. Like, we were very good friends. We kind of liked each other in school, but, like, the timing was never right. And then when we were 30 and we have lived, like,
Mhm.
we came back together and we were different people and we were like, okay, now this can work. Like, that I would believe, but, like, her just like, so what I'm saying is, I'm listening to a lot of other pods and they're all very critical of Carrie, saying, like, Carrie would never do this. Carrie would never do that. Carrie'd never want to meet his kids. She'd never want to go to the farmhouse. She'd never want to
Yeah.
do this. This character is 25 years older than we left her.
Exactly.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Has really been humbled by the death of her husband. Like, it is possible that 55-year-old Carrie would want to go to a farmhouse.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
she
know.
did the whole big relationship, the big
Yeah.
love of my life, the whole living in this city, having all this money. She did all of that. Maybe she needs to be a little more humble and live in a
Mm-hmm.
fucking farmhouse,
Like,
which,
people change in
yeah,
25 years. I, I'm a good example of this. When we were in Toronto, I was like, in my 20s, all I wanted to do was live in a big city. That's all I want to do. Get the hell out of where I am and live in a big city. And that didn't happen for me. And now I go to a big city and I'm like, I could never live in a big city. I could never live in a city now. Like, put me on my little farm. Like, so I've changed. I mean, it
right.
happens. So there are parts of ourselves that we stay true to, and I'm sure Carrie will always be like a fashionista and always have a
She's a
like the
city
finer
girl,
things in life.
though.
Yes.
See, because
But
I even tried that whole thing, like maybe, it's time I grow up and leave New York and try to be
no,
somewhere
she
quiet.
should
I
not
didn't,
leave New York.
I did not,
Yes.
it didn't work for me. I had to come back.
I agree with you there. Like, I'm not saying she should leave New York or
Nope.
that she would be happy leaving New York. But could she visit Aiden and like his kids? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I still don't think they should end up together. I really don't.
And I kind of don't want to see her meeting his kids. I'm not interested in that.
No. I do want to see the farmhouse just because I like farmhouses. But that's my take on it. Like, I think she's in a weird grief spot. She's going back to the well. She's doing that what if that we
Yeah.
all do. Cuz also there's probably a part of her brain that's like, if I had chosen Aiden and had different life, I wouldn't have suffered that loss of Big.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? There's that too. But I don't know. I think people are just freaking out over nothing. I think this is going to be, we're just going to see that it's part of her grief. That's what I'm hoping.
It's part of her journey,
But I
and
don't trust these writers, so who knows?
I think they want to write this as her happily ever after, and it's like, it's not fair. Why do you get 2 bites at the apple, 3 bites of the apple? Because this is be the
Mhm.
third time. This is why I did not want Aiden to come back. Because after the second time, season 4, when she broke his fucking heart, I was like, I'm
Mhm.
done with this. Leave Aiden in the past. And then that abomination that is the second movie, which I try not to think about, but it always creeps back up. I'm like, why are we doing this again?
So let me ask you something. If they ended it the way that I had posited, if Caden ended the way that I posited by having him recognize like this is not right, would
she
you feel
needs
better with that?
she needs to be brought back down to earth. He needs to break her heart. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be mean about it, but I feel like a part of me was like, do you think that he's doing this so he could finally be the one to end things, to move on from her?
I don't know if it's that malicious. I don't even think it's premeditated. I just think he will, cuz he has more objectivity in this
Yeah.
because he's not in grief. I think he will be the one to say, we're just trying to relive a fantasy here and it's just not going to work. I don't know what the impetus for that is going to be.
I think he might think that like Big's ghost is like still haunting her or them or something.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe it'll be something with the apartment. Like, maybe he'll be like, I can't ask you to give up your apartment, but I clearly can't get over it either. And maybe this is just a sign that, Big is still too big in your life for
Yeah.
us to. I don't know. Here I am writing the script. I don't know what's going to happen. But that's where I stand. I'm saying it is realistic that somebody would have these thoughts. It is realistic that somebody would ask the question. I'm sure in her heart of hearts, she knows it was not a mistake. And I'm sure Aiden believes that as well, because we don't want to erase his 3 children. I'm sure they're
Right.
lovely. And I think it's just gonna be, she's fooling herself right now.
Yeah.
That's my hot take. Okay. So now we're gonna go over to Che. And Che is working at the vet store again, because they're broke. And Carrie stops by to take Che for lunch, but there's an ulterior motive. Well, first of all, Che can't go because they need to work through lunch to get that time and a half.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it turns out Carrie wants to Airbnb Che's place for she and Aiden when Aiden is in town. And then she says that Che can stay at her house when, like at Carrie's house, when they're at Che's.
Yeah.
So later we see Carrie and Aiden check into Che's apartment and they have to pretend to be cousins. Che is a bad Airbnber because there's no accoutrement. There's nothing.
No.
Nothing. There's not even a dish in the fucking cabinet. So they have to go housewares shopping and completely furnish this Airbnb.
And I love the Rocky Horror reference though.
Yes.
Brad and Janet.
Yes. Doug, Brad, and Janet.
And then also like the Mommy Dearest with the wire hangers. I was like, this is the gayest reference ever.
Yep.
I live.
Yep. We see, like you mentioned, Che's at Carrie's using all of her products and trying on her stuff, and just
I would do
life.
That. I kind of love that.
So Che heads over to Aiden and Carrie's, and well, it's really Che's house, and they've practically refurnished the place. I mean, they have small appliances they've put on the countertops. I think I saw a mixer. I don't know what's going on.
A Keurig, I think.
Yeah. And Che asked the horrific question of why didn't you two work out the first time? And Carrie says, because I made a big mistake. And they hug. Again, Aiden should have said, well, not really. Let's ask my kids what they think about the big mistake. So then we have the last scene. The last scene is the girls are at dinner and Aiden is charming them. And then we see Seema show up late. They're talking about this chicken. They can't let it go. Who puts the chicken on the bed? Or how does the chicken get up on the bed to lay the egg? Like, were you finding that joke funny? Because I was not
at all.
Funny.
Not at all. There was no road for the chicken to cross. What is this?
Yeah. Oh, now we have to put you into the equation of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Okay. All right. Calm down, MPK. So later we see, I really am coming for him this episode. He does not want to listen to this.
I really hope he doesn't listen to this.
He's not listening.
Thank you for keeping these characters alive. I appreciate it.
Do you think he listens to anyone else's perspective?
Of course not. Well,
of course not.
Well, he does in this when he needs to shame us for not liking his characters. Then yes, he does listen.
Fair. So later we see Carrie pick up the book Howard's End off her bookshelf, and she heads out the door to Aiden's farm. And she says, this is the worst and just like that we've ever gotten. And just like that, I went to Aiden's farm. It wasn't Howard's End. It was better. It was Caden's new beginning. She doesn't say Caden. She says it was our new beginning.
Yeah.
And that's it. What'd you think of that last scene? First of all, Carrie Bradshaw going to a farm for a week with one suitcase.
That's so unrealistic. Come on. Carrie needs like 20 suitcases.
I went to Toronto for 2 days and brought a suitcase and an extra bag.
That's what I would do.
Yes. So, what do we think? Is she going there? What's happening?
Well, clearly she's going to go to the farm, apparently. And because we do see, like, I did see kind of like a preview kind of thing. It wasn't included in the screener that we got, but I did see like on the Max, like I was watching some previews and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were showing like a scene, I guess, in Coney Island with like Aiden and Steve. So we will get to see Steve and him kind of bro out. So I'm excited about that. So it seems like Aiden will be back. Because remember, they were partners in the Bar Scout. Remember, he did all the furniture. He was like a silent partner and all that. So that would be interesting to see if that, having Aiden, bridges the gap and gets Miranda and Steve in a happier, more amicable place.
Or is Steve the one who's saying to Aiden, like, well,
you've done this
so
before.
Carrie can only be with you because Big's dead?
Ooh.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
So yeah, that will be interesting. But we will see Aiden, I guess, throughout the last, how many more episodes we have left? Like 4?
It feels like 110. And I'm here for every one of them.
I love every single one of them. I love talking about this.
Me too.
I love reading people's outrage. And I belong to like 4 different like And Just Like That or Sex and the City adjacent groups. And people go on like dissertations on why they hate a particular plot point or something that Carrie did. But the whole thing about like, was Big a mistake? Like, I could write a dissertation on that, on just like how people are reacting to this.
That has sent the fandom in a quite an uproar.
Because people are posting clips like, you're telling me this is a mistake? And, it's like Big and her like dancing or something
I
when he was
really
moving.
think everybody needs to calm down.
Yeah,
like I think that's an okay thought to have.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
the writers are all for it. They're all excited about it. So
Well, that's
we'll
the
see.
thing. If it goes down how I think it should, that'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, we will see that Big was not a big mistake, and she realizes, she's trying to relive something. But I don't trust these writers. They're going to do the wrong thing with this.
But also, now I'm thinking, how does Samantha fit into this? Because we all got spoiled that Kim Cattrall has a little cameo.
She has like a 3-minute phone call.
A 3-minute phone call. She literally did not shoot with a single actor. She was like acting by herself, and she got Kim Fields to like do like her wardrobe. Like, it's so wild. And I think that part of her negotiation was to get Mannequin streaming back on Max, because it is now. It hadn't been streaming anywhere.
No, yes. Jenny and I couldn't find it. We want to do it on Gen X. This is why we couldn't find it.
It's on Max now. I was like, did Kim Cattrall negotiate this? Because thank you.
Okay. All right.
I don't know. How does she fit into this? That's what I'm thinking.
Do you remember what are some other previews for next week, or no?
No, not really. I just saw like that kind of brief thing with them having more chats with Aiden, everybody loving Aiden, and everybody being all happy. So we'll see where that leads.
We'll see where that leads. All right, Leslie, thank you as always for being patient with me as well while I had my little trip and came back here. And we got the screeners. I'm super excited. Thank you to our friends over at Max
and Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, we had to supply urine samples, fingerprints,
DNA tests.
We had to like give up our firstborn, which for me is fine because I don't have one. But poor Amy had to choose between the twins. It was awful, but it was worth it, I think.
Depending on the day, I can make that choice pretty easily.
Don't listen to this, kids.
All right, guys. Just a reminder, Steph and I will not be covering Yellowstone this week, because Stephanie's on vacation at the ranch. No, she's not at the ranch. She is at the beach. And so we'll be back with that next week. And Leslie and I will be back again on Friday with another episode of And Just Like That. So keep listening. Leslie, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on the socials at Sinister Girlz. I'm actually getting ready, like in a little bit, to head out to Barclays to see my New York Liberty. They are playing against the Aces, which are from Vegas, and they're like the number one team right now. So this is a big matchup because the New York Liberties are number one in the East Conference, and the Aces are in the West. So this is going to be like a bloodbath. I'm here for it. I'm excited. Go women's sports. And sadly, the U.S. women's soccer team did not make it till the end this year, but it happens. But support women's sports. Support women's sports. Please. Get them more money.
Agree. All right, guys. And again, if you haven't already, check out our Facebook group, Backdoor Friends. Just slide on in there. Slide on into the back door. We're there.
Finally get the reference because I saw Love and Death.
Okay. So thanks again for listening, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.